everybody, and welcome to Project HR, a podcast dedicated to building better workplaces. Project HR is brought to you by Projections, an IRI company. IRI helps organizations navigate workplace challenges, improve employee engagement and productivity, manage labor relations, and implement effective communication strategies to achieve their goals. For more information, you can visit Projections online at projectionsinc.com and IRI at iriconsultants.com. I am Jennifer Orqua, Director of Business Development for IRI, and your host for today's episode of Project HR. In 2019, recruiters felt that they were at risk of replacement by artificial intelligence, by robotics, by chatbots. And author Katrina Collier wrote The Robot-Proof Recruiter, a survival guide for recruitment and sourcing professionals. Her book made the case for keeping human-powered leadership at the heart of the hiring process, while at the same time leveraging technology to support the candidate journey. Fast forward a few years past the pandemic and into the Great Resignation, and recruiters now face what may prove to be the toughest talent acquisition market of their careers. So today, I am so pleased to be joined by Katrina Collier herself, who can hopefully help us find some order amid all of this chaos. Katrina, welcome to Project HR.
Thank you so much for having me.
So first of all, congratulations on the book. You have to be pleased by the support it's received and the impact it's made and continues to make.
It has been mind-blowing. I think a lot of that is because it's quite a community book. I got 74 people to help me write it. And some of that's also because I donated my royalties to an amazing charity. So I think that's also some of it. But it's a real manual. It's very helpful. And I think that's why so many people have picked it up and continue to keep picking it up, which is the important part.
So I want to address that fear, first off, that fear of being replaced by tech.
Mm-hmm.
The pandemic led to the incorporation of a lot more tech in our lives, inside and outside of HR and the workplace. Has that helped to mitigate those fears, or has it increased them?
What happened was Kogan Page, the publisher, actually came to me in 2018 and asked me if I would like to write a book. And at that time, all of the HR tech vendors were going, we can replace recruiters, AI is going to take over. And I was sitting there going, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. They can replace elements of the recruitment process, but what we do is too important. And, you know, fast forward to now, I still feel exactly the same way. There is a lot of noise with technology. It too often gets in the way and it makes the hiring process more difficult. And the reason I don't believe at any point ever that will be replaced is there are still, we call them cashiers here in the supermarket that are there so that for your food order, you can go to a human being. There are still tellers or cashiers in the bank, so you can still talk to a human being about just withdrawing cash. Could you imagine giving your career, your livelihood, you know, the thing that you use to support yourself, your family, etc. Could you imagine giving that to a robot? No chance. It's never going to happen. So I don't feel that the fear is warranted. I don't think it ever has been, but that's what's provoked the book, was my frustration at all of these vendors just pretending we're replaceable.
So can we still be human first or candidate centric in a world where we at least initially connect in a virtual space?
Well, this is the problem, because there are 4 billion people on the internet. It's actually more than that, but something like that. There is so much access to people that the problem is we've forgotten that we are sending a message to a human being. So there's so much recruiter spam and there's so much, you know, so many job posts that are poorly written, and on it goes. There's a lot, again, that noise that we can get access to people, but we're not treating those people well. And I think it's actually become more important. The recruiters that are succeeding now is the ones that, you know, find your profile and then they look at your experience and they send you a very tailored message, and then they give you a great experience. They get your attention amongst all of the noise and the notifications and the spam and hold your attention and make you feel like you're important, because it's just too easy to access people. And it's just too many people are being treated poorly.
In the book, you talk about the importance of empathy. And in the wake of all we've been through in the last few years, empathy skills are now recognized to be a crucial part of leadership. So I want to talk a little bit about the role of empathy today in robot-proof recruiting.
Yeah, it's just a simple case of put yourself in that person's shoes and think about what you would expect. What is your minimum level of experience of service experience that you want to have as a candidate? And I think what I did find quite disappointing were the number of people who were laid off in 2020. You know, there was a drastic downsizing, which is some of the reason that we have this problem now, the recruitment, it's so hard to hire right now in 2022. But even though there were so many people out of work in 2020 and going through the candidate experience, it doesn't feel like they've learned from that. It doesn't feel like they've gone back into their workplace and gone, gosh, I don't want anyone to know what it feels like to be ghosted by a recruiter. I don't want anyone to know what it feels like to spend hours upon hours interviewing to never hear back or to receive that awful, HR email that says nothing, the rejection email. That's where the empathy is lacking. And I was saddened because I did sit there in hope that when it passed, as of course the pandemic has, and people started hiring again, that people would remember, gosh, it was bad. I don't want others to feel like that. But it's proof in the pudding. The recruiters who use empathy and compassion and curiosity and all of the other wonderful human skills are the most successful recruiters.
For sure. All right, Katrina, I need to take a quick sponsorship break right now, but when you and I return, I want to discuss how humans, not robots, can address talent acquisition during the Great Resignation. We'll be right back.
Your frontline leaders need skills and knowledge to support your organization's growth. They've got to motivate their team, support employees when they struggle, and connect with their people, all while continually improving their own skills. To help make your organization more successful, the A Better Leader team has created a free guide to selecting and educating your leaders. Before you hire another supervisor, before you give another merit-based promotion, read this practical guide. The 4 Qualities That Make Great Leaders provides practical tips on creating better leaders for your organization. The free guide also includes actionable steps on testing potential hires for these qualities during the hiring process so your supervisors have what they need from day one. Download this guide now at projectionsinc.com/abetterleader. You'll be glad you did.
I'm back now with Katrina Collier, author of The Robot-Proof Recruiter, a survival guide for recruitment and sourcing professionals. So, Katrina, I'm curious to hear your take on the Great Resignation. What do you see as the movement's primary drivers?
Oh, it's complicated.
Isn't it, though?
Yeah. I think there's been this incredible shift. So I'm going to address this in a couple of ways. So one is, it's gone from when I started my career 30 years ago from, no, I can't quite get my head. That's my proper career, by the way. I had like the 5 years at Kentucky Fried Chicken before that.
Right.
Yeah, we won't talk about that. But my first proper job where it was be grateful you have a job, fear of leaving a job without another one. Employer was in charge. Company could do what they want. We lived in fear. And we have swung so far around. We're now at, oh gosh, company, be grateful you have employees. It's such a huge pendulum swing. And that's quite hard for companies to understand. And I think the biggest thing that they failed to realize is the internet opened the door. Now, I've been going on about this for ages. It's all the way through the Robot-Proof Recruiter. And 2020 just made it more so because more people embraced using the internet. So it's like the door is wide open and people can see all of the other job interviews, opportunities. They can see all of the reviews. They can see how you treat your people. And I mean all your people, even suppliers. They can see everything. And so they have choice and they felt empowered. And when people suddenly realize, particularly knowledge workers, that I can work at home and be more productive and less tired and see my children and all my animals or whichever it is, or have my hobbies, and life has got back into balance. They've gone, that's what I want to do. And then there are the other people where this is sort of the great reassessment almost, is the ones like the Uber driver I met in the middle of pandemic when I dropped my car off for a service, who said to me, I'm in lockdown, I'm at home, and I'm looking at my 6-year-old son going, I don't know who he is. He was working 14, 15 hours on Saturday and Sunday running this restaurant. He just went, I'm not doing that anymore. And then he tells me about the 6 chefs, and there's always been a shortage of chefs, who have all gone to Deliveroo, Uber Eats, whichever company, doing food delivery, working less and earning twice the amount. And so there's a lot of people that have just left their industries or gone, do you know what? This has really made me sit up and go, I don't want to do this anymore. And that's exciting. And companies can't compete against that.
Mhm.
They can't win. But the be grateful you have employees, they can totally win. And
Mhm.
that's, by genuinely caring about their people and really listening to what their people want.
So do you think this is a natural evolution? I mean, would this have happened with or without the pandemic?
Yeah, because the patriarchy is falling,
Mhm.
which is exciting. And I think that I might just live through it long enough to see it out. Um, it really is. It's people expect something different. I mean, I've always had this thought around why aren't there and like female leaders, right at the top of these companies. And I think a lot
Mm.
of the time it's because we've not really wanted to have the battle. We
Mhm.
don't want to play
Mhm.
the boys' game, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
And you're
Mhm.
starting to see that dissolve into these smaller companies where they really value their employees. There's this true autonomy and flexibility, and everything's based on productivity and output, not presenteeism. And there's been such a shift.
Mm.
And so I do think it was happening. It's just sped up monumentally by this amazing 2 years we've all had.
So how do you think the Great Resignation is impacting hiring in 2022? What challenges has it created?
I think recruiters have realized that retention is actually really important now. So it's more than just affecting going out externally. They need to be looking internally. It's almost like hiring managers need to have looked internally before they go externally. I think that's really, really important. And then it's a case of the big battle over counter offers. There's a lot of what I call salary shopping going on,
Mm.
where people are like, oh, I've just suddenly realized I've been underpaid for the last 10 years. So they're going out into the job market. And so that can be just really, really tough for talent acquisition. And I think it's also the realization that even when people now have a job offer, a signed contract, they're still interviewing because they don't have to pretend they've got a dental appointment and put a suit on and run out for an interview. They just jump onto
Right.
one of these and, hi,
Mhm.
here I am.
Yep.
Let's have an interview. And
Yep.
it's so easy now. Again, the
Mhm.
access to people is super easy. So it's made it really tough. There are a lot of recruiters who are on the verge of burnout, which is quite scary.
Hmm.
And I think the companies that are really suddenly realizing, and you kind of got to wonder, people make companies run, right? It is people. That's it. It's people. We're people. Like, where did we
Mhm.
forget that? And HR and talent acquisition, and I make those two completely different functions that in my head that they are. One brings the people in, one looks after the people. But for all this time, they've been like underfunded and looked at as a cost center, and suddenly they're being valued. And the companies that are valuing those two departments and giving them what they need, which is the technology and the resources to really bring in the great people and look after those people and retain those people, they're the
Mhm.
ones that will succeed. It's exciting to watch.
Mhm, for sure. Do you think we can recruit our way out of the job losses that we might be experiencing right now?
Oh, yes, if. So, yes, if we offer genuine flexibility. Yes, if we listen to our people and really look after them. We have a focus on retaining and developing our people. If we recruit for potential, and I know that's said a lot, but sometimes it makes more sense to recruit somebody who isn't quite there and get them to where we want them so they stay. And then looking at all the people we overlook, return to workers, people with disabilities, ex-offenders, ex-homeless, ex-care, we
Mhm.
overlook such a massive section of society. People who are neurodiverse also often overlooked and have such value to bring in their different way of thinking and their creativity. So yes, we can recruit our way out of it if we're prepared to genuinely take a hard look at ourselves and go, well, actually, we've been allowing our people to work from home and they've been incredibly productive and we don't really care what hours they're working because they're giving this output. So let's continue that way if
Mhm.
they want it, because they might not want it. Um, Rather than you're seeing a lot of companies now going, oh, guess what? You're coming back into the office and people are going, yeah, bye.
Mhm.
Because they're just not prepared to commute anymore.
Mhm.
So it's interesting. Again, it's exciting. I'm loving watching it.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, and when we talk about recruiting our way out of the Great Resignation, what about recruiter burnout? You mentioned
Mhm.
burnout a minute ago.
Yeah,
Is this something we need to be aware of and in tune with?
we really do. I mean, realistically, it is only possible for one recruiter to do about 8 to 10 requirements at any one time. And there are people out there who are doing 80. 50. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how do you expect that one human being to bring in the best people,
Right.
the people that decide the fate of your company?
Mm-hmm.
So there's just too much of that going on. And
Mm-hmm.
then a lot of the time the burnout happens, in my experience and what I've seen, is when recruiters don't partner properly with their hiring leaders. They should be able to push back and say no and set boundaries and really shift their thinking from I'm a service to the hiring manager to no, together we are going to partner and fill this role. Hiring leader, you're going to do this, I'm going to do this, and together we're going to
Mm-hmm.
create this. And there's not enough of that. There's not enough of that fearlessness to push back and say no.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to go and cancel that interview 5 minutes before, you ring the candidate and you sort it out. I'm not doing it. And I'm serious. That's what they should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
I think when hiring managers realize they can't just muck people around and give a bad candidate experience, then the shift will happen. But again, it has to come from the TA function.
Mm-hmm.
And as a function, it's quite a new function. Compared to, HR or finance or accounts or
Mm-hmm.
sales, those are old functions that we all understand. Oh, we know what accounts do. But, in some companies, that internal recruitment function is new.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it takes an education piece, but a
For
lot of
sure.
attitude shift. But hopefully it will happen for the
Yeah.
sake of the people.
For sure. Yeah. Are there organizations you've seen that are doing a better job than others? Are there secrets to this that some organizations are really getting right now and others aren't?
Yeah, totally. Make it a properly funded and supported and important part of your company. Like, understand, and it comes from the top. The CEO has to understand, gosh, the people that we bring in decide the fate of the company. And then immediately you get the right funding. As soon as your brain goes, oh gosh, the people that bring in the people matter. To give you an example, I won't name names because I don't think he'd be too impressed if I did. But a director of talent acquisition was getting calls from, all of these startups with funding and, "Oh, we've got all this funding." Rah. And he's like, yeah, whatever. And he'd eye roll because, it's like, whatever. And then until his current company, who made him sit up because they went, what do we need to do to make talent acquisition the best function in this company? And he went, oh, hello. And it was like, because he knows exactly what it needs. And it needs so much more now. You need someone to do employer branding. You need someone to be doing some talent intelligence and insights, as well as, great sourcing function. And then your recruiters. It's so much more than just in-house recruiters. It's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've said that multiple times on this call.
Mm-hmm.
Seems to
For
be my
sure.
word of the evening.
For sure. So what would you say are the silver linings to this wild job market that we're in right now?
Loads and loads of people just going, yeah, you're not going to treat me like that. Goodbye.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
I think I might get shot down by a few of my clients for that. But I just love that people are going, no. I wrote
Mm-hmm.
an article recently on LinkedIn about the FANG. And it just shared, like, this is how you can compete against them, even when you can't win on salary, which is 17 interviews to then reject somebody is unacceptable. And people just are going, no, I'm not doing that
Mm-hmm.
anymore.
Yeah. Right.
It's treat people with respect, have a feedback policy, a proper policy to get back to every single person who invests their, you know, irreplaceable time interviewing with you.
Mm-hmm. For sure. All right, Katrina, I'm going to take some time out for another quick break. We'll be right back after this. You're listening to the Project HR podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Oraqua, and my guest today is Katrina Collier, author of The Robot Proof Recruiter, a survival guide for recruitment and sourcing professionals. And we're back. Katrina, would you consider the Great Resignation to be a challenge for all of us to just do better, to be better employers, better recruiters, to present better offers and create better workplaces?
I think the Great Resignation is less about recruitment and far more about the leadership. Full stop.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to come from the top. You've got to start listening to your people. And again, it's that huge pendulum swing from, wow, be grateful you've got a job, to, ooh, I have employees. Woo, what can I do to keep them?
Mm-hmm.
Listen, your people are full of ideas and they just know how to help your company. People don't tend to work at a place where they don't want to see the company succeed. So listen to them, talk to them,
Mm-hmm.
cherish them.
So how do you think we're doing in that regard?
Yeah. Next question.
Okay, we
Yeah,
won't pontificate on that one.
I don't feel we're doing well.
Mhm.
Yeah, sorry, that was more a joke than a let's move on. But I
Mhm.
just, I'm not an employee experience expert. I'm sure there are far better guests for that, but no, we're not doing as well as we could be. There are companies that are still not listening, and there are there's worse. There are companies who have been more productive with their employees working from home who have then gone, yeah, too bad, but you can all come back into the office full time. Things like that. And you're just like, I'm sorry, your company's been more successful, had more profit, been more productive, all of that. And you still think everyone should be sitting in the office on a Zoom call. We have room to grow.
I can see that. So are there elements of the candidate experience that are more important now, mid-pandemic, mid-Great Resignation, that maybe weren't so critical before?
All of it. Um, because of the fact suddenly all of it. See, it's less about the Great Resignation and more about the flow of people. With the natural flow of people, it sort of got all disrupted when we downsized drastically in 2020, and now we're trying to hire back the people plus the normal flow of people. So yeah, add in a few that have left to change careers, but it's all out of whack, and it's probably going to take a few more years to even back out again. So even even recruiters and marketers and sales, like just general roles are now, there's a shortage of people. Whereas it used to be there was a shortage in STEM and healthcare. Like you just knew, oh gosh, I
Mhm.
need a developer. Oh god, that'll be fun. Right. But it's
Mhm.
not like that now. Now it's everything. And so the experience and the speed of that experience as well really matters.
Mhm.
So if you used to, get a resume in from a candidate and you just sit on it for a couple of days, that's unacceptable now because that person will have multiple things on the go.
Mhm. Sure.
And even as I said earlier, they have an offer, they're still interviewing. So it's like if you don't give them the most amazing experience that they want to drop everything else they've got going, then you're getting it wrong. So
Mhm.
it is actually every single part from that initial outreach right through to the pre-boarding and then the onboarding. It's all of it. It's different to how it's been in the past. And the companies that succeed again will be the ones that just go, these humans matter. They all
Mhm.
matter.
For sure. And to your point just a second ago, I believe that the candidate experience is even more important now than it was in 2019. But what
Hmm.
things do you see that we can do to make that candidate experience better?
The aforementioned empathy is a huge one. But my number one big bugbear of all time is recruiter ghosting.
Hmm.
When we don't get back to a candidate, we leave them feeling down or depressed. It's something like 84% that are left feeling down or
Hmm.
depressed. When candidates ghost us, it's irritating. We kind of eye roll. We think, ugh, well, that was a lucky save, wasn't it? Thank goodness they're not coming to work for us. Look what they did. It's a very different energy.
Hmm.
And I'm really, really tired. I mean, I'm tired of companies like household name that we all go to buy stuff, delivery company kind of thing.
Hmm.
You probably know who I mean. Have a blanket policy of no feedback.
Hmm.
That's unacceptable.
Hmm.
Train your people to have a difficult conversation so you won't get sued. And then one, your employees will all get on better. And two, you don't need to have a no feedback policy. Then every single person can leave understanding what they could do better at the next interview to get that job. Oh gosh, we were looking for somebody who could demonstrate this kind of project management experience, and I'm afraid you didn't demonstrate it really well. Make sure you do next time. Gosh, wow, goes on and gets the next job. We can change people's lives. So this not giving feedback and not giving somebody the opportunity to learn and grow and be better, I just find it's tragic. And I shall forever get on my soapbox and rant about it as long as the world will let me.
For sure, for sure. So, Katrina, beyond your book, you offer a host of
Hmm.
other resources and opportunities for recruiters to level up their skills,
Hmm.
workshops, mentorship. Can you share a little bit more about all of those things with us?
Yeah. I'm actually one of two people who run design thinking workshops in the world of talent acquisition, which is super exciting. I realized, actually, I think I started doing this 2019 into 2020 anyway, that it's really the hiring managers now. Recruiters understand the candidate experience. It doesn't mean they deliver a great one, but they understand it. And it was like, there's a problem. There's this collaboration problem between hiring managers, recruiters, and recruiters and HR, and sort of the touch points that the human goes through. And every time they're dropped off to a new part, there can be a problem. So I run workshops that get under the skin of where the actual problem is. And it's fun and it's fast and everyone's involved and everyone's heard. And it's very cool because the design thinking is like everybody is involved in the decision making. So everyone's bought into the process. So I've been doing that. Mentoring is very much one-to-one for those that want to do it. I blog a lot. I have my own podcast. Everything I talk about though is about ultimately, can we treat the humans better? That's sort of my big thing. But every aspect of my work that I do. But the workshops are just so impactful. I'm just loving doing them.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your podcast.
So I have a podcast called The Hiring Partner Perspective. And initially I was endeavoring to interview hiring managers who actually partner properly with recruiters to get their sort of opinion and their understanding of why they do that. But I found it quite difficult to get hiring managers to talk to me. So I'm now interviewing a lot of people who can help recruiters create better partnerships. So that, again, it's that, no. You might be the hiring manager, but you're not managing the recruitment process, right? So together we're partnering. It's a different attitude. It's a shift in the way they do things. So I love it. I'm enjoying that.
Nice. So if we want to find out more about you, any of the things that you mentioned, where should we go?
Oh, katrinacollier.com. Very simple. Google me. I'm everywhere. It's dreadful. I have to really behave. So I once realized it was like the first 20 pages or something. Shocking.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I cannot do anything naughty. But yeah, all the usual places. And of course, if you connect with me on LinkedIn, it's my button's hidden. The connect button's like hiding under the drop down, but it's there. Let me know that you heard this podcast, of course.
Yeah, great.
I always love that.
I want to let everybody know that all of the links will be included in this episode's companion guide, so be sure to unlock that today at projectionsinc.com/podcast. Right now, though, Katrina, it is time for our lightning round questions, and these are questions I ask of every guest of the podcast. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, very good. Our first question is always a topic showdown. So in this episode, we've been talking about being a robot-proof recruiter in today's job market. I apologize in advance for this inevitable robot question. But in your opinion, which robot would you most want on your side? The T-800 from the Terminator, that's Arnold Schwarzenegger, or R2-D2 from Star Wars?
Well, I'd prefer everybody led with love, so let's go with R2-D2.
I like that. He's loyal. He's a companion. That's perfect.
He's quite human, isn't he?
Yes, for sure. All right, next question. What is the best book that you've read recently?
I am actually in the middle of reading a book called It Didn't Start With You, which is how inherited family trauma shapes who we are and how to end the cycle. And the book is by Mark Wallen. Mark Wallen.
All right.
And I'm thoroughly enjoying that. I've been very open about my own childhood trauma and the work I've done to get through it. And also, of course, the charity that the royalties from my book go to is Hope for Justice, which aim to end modern day slavery. And unfortunately, a lot of children get trafficked into slavery. So again, it's all related. So I'm loving that. It Didn't Start With You by Mark Wallen.
Excellent.
I can't pronounce his surname, but it's a good book.
All right, that's all right. Next question. We'll put it in the episode companion, Sarah. Next question. What is your favorite thing about the work that you do?
It's very hard to say a thing because I get to do what absolutely lights me up. Every single aspect of this business I've created is just so incredibly joyous that I'm never doing anything I don't want to do, which is quite extraordinary. But I have to say it's the results. It's seeing people treat people better. And
very nice.
That's all I really want my clients to do, is to treat people better.
For sure. All right. What is the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Along the similar lines of that heart-centered soul path, Laura Borland once said to me, only ever say yes to anything that makes you sit up and buzz, and you say no to anything that makes you slouch. And it's kind of funny when you run your own business because it's hard initially to get going. It's like you're a rat in a wheel going round and round and round and round. And you feel like you have to say yes to everything. And the trouble is, if you say yes to the work that makes you slump, you get more of that because of whatever energetic level that you're on. So the more that you say yes to the stuff that really excites you, the more of that comes in. So that's huge. And I think that impacts whether you're an employee or your own business. Someone asks you to do something and it really makes you go, oh, I don't want to do that. The answer is no. And I'm not the best person to do that, boss. I'm really not. Have you considered this person? That they'll love that, etc., etc. So yeah, always yes to the sit up, no to the slouch.
I like that. I like that. It's a little piece of self-awareness right there. So
it really is.
Last question: who or what inspires you?
This was a really tough one because there's been different people through my life who have inspired me and certainly helped me heal. And I always talk about like Michelle Zelly, who helped me heal my childhood trauma and started me on my way. But really, it's me being on my soul path. It's me doing the thing that lights me up every single day. That inspires me. And I'm so grateful to be able to do what I love. And there's just not enough people doing that.
Yeah,
just
that's fantastic.
Choose that thing that you love. So
yeah, I love that. All right, Katrina, thanks so much for joining me on this week's episode of Project HR.
Thank you for having me.
And I want to thank our listeners also. Once again, this is your reminder to grab the companion guide for this episode at projectionsinc.com/podcast. If you'd like to be on Project HR or you know someone who would, feel free to email us at projecthr@projectionsinc.com. And last but certainly not least, make sure you never miss an episode of Project HR. I hope you subscribe to the podcast, drop the Project HR team a line, leave us a review, or give us a handful of stars wherever you get your content. That's it for me for now. Let's make it a great day at work.